So today we're going to talk about some stacking mistakes, and when I started stacking, what did I do well, what did I do wrong. First of all though, we're going to be touching coins in plastic capsules and cases, so we're going to put some gloves on first, because we definitely don't want any fingerprints on these tubes and capsules. So, when I first started stacking, I already had an investing background, so I'm not like new to putting my money into things and expecting to get a return in the future. So when I started, I was pretty adamant that I would just buy the lowest premium close to spot gold that made sense. So when I say that made sense, in the UK, certain coins are treated better in terms of tax purposes, and obviously certain coins just generally are higher premium and lower premium. So when I was having a look around, sovereigns seemed to make a lot of sense, and obviously 1 ounce coins. Now, when we look, the Britannias and similar are capital gains tax exempt in the UK, so they make a lot of sense for us here. So what I did was basically just put the best value 1 ounce gold coin when I first started, and some best value sovereigns. So to me that was a decent idea. You know, you're getting the gold, you're getting it in well recognised form, and you're getting it at, you know, the lowest relative premium. But I then sort of got a bit more, I suppose I got a bit more knowledge, and I learnt a bit more about coins, and I got a bit more of an interest in some of the sovereigns, some of the coins in general, and naturally just ventured down a bit of a collecting rabbit hole maybe. So trying to get the date run of bullion sovereigns, not every single sovereign ever minted, but you know, a collection of the different dates. And obviously ventured into things like shields and so on. I've even had a few graded coins, a few proof coins, and yeah, just I suppose the variety grew a little bit. So when I first started, I was pretty strict on just buying, you know, the best value. And for those who were following the channel early on, I did buy some best value like bars and smaller coins. The reason I ended up with those was I was buying regularly from a coin dealer, and he basically would bundle up some smaller pieces for me and, you know, sell them at a relatively low premium. So I ended up with some quarter ounce, some sovereigns, halves, tenths, 20ths, you know, various bits and pieces, even some smaller bars. And yeah, over time I ended up building up a bit of a stack, and then ultimately swapped a lot of those into sovereigns and 1 ounce coins and things. So initially I think I had the right idea, but from a purely returns basis, I think that was probably the best of the options. So like now when I buy things that are a bit different, like this for example is obviously a mounted sovereign, and I wouldn't have bought it if it wasn't 1820, you know, and at an appropriate price. But when you buy things like this, it just means that the market is a bit narrower to sell to at the other end. So if I go to a dealer, they'll probably say, scrap that, and just give a scrap price. You know, it's a historical sovereign, and they just, you know, they just don't really realise that into the price, because they've got to then obviously move it on and sell it. Similar to things like this is a relatively low mintage 1924, it's a 63 gold sovereign. And you know, it's a beautiful coin, but if I go to a dealer with it, they're going to be pretty much giving, you know, a sovereign price. They're not going to give much more for it. So there are coins in here that would fetch a premium on the second-hand market, you know, should you put the effort in to sell there. But like I say, over time I got perhaps a bit relaxed on the premiums I would pay for things. And in order to get the, you know, date run of different coins, I still haven't finished, by the way, with shields. There are some now which are just they're just very premium heavy to get any kind of example of such coins. So whilst you can have some nice coins in random dates, you know, this is an 1885. There's a little bit of a mark on the cheek there, but otherwise there's very nice detail in the coin. Looks pretty nice. You know, I did sort of get a bit more flexible and end up not necessarily paying more for certain dates, but getting a bit more fussy. Like there were times I remember seeing nice bullion sovereigns, and they were just random dates, you know, nothing wrong with them at all, but I wouldn't necessarily buy those, and I would wait for something like maybe a shield or something a bit more premium. So whilst the shields, do sometimes maintain a premium on the second-hand market, the dealers again aren't going to give you any more for this than they are for, a random George or Edward or something like that. So when I started, I don't think I made the mistake, but as I got into stacking and collecting, I think I perhaps from a purely, if you were looking at it as an investment point of view, as in you want to get the most return on your money, I think I perhaps got a bit carried away with, buying some higher premium coins or being a bit fussy, and probably should have, just kept buying lowest premium, good quality bullion coins. So I think if you are starting out, it's easy to look at all the different things and different coins and think, oh yeah, that looks nice, and it sure does. But you could just have maybe a shield and a couple of nicer coins or a couple of different things, and then if you are stacking, just keep buying the best value, just keep building up a volume of basic bullion sovereigns, or if you're in the US, you might obviously choose a different coin, but ultimately just keeping those premiums down if financial returns are the motivation for buying gold. Obviously, if you're just using it as a way of diversifying some cash from being in the bank, or to get some physical metals as again some sort of hedge against inflation, or whatever the purpose is of what you are doing, if you just want some like physical tangible assets in your possession, then again you might consider that there is a cost to that, and it might be worthwhile to you. So for example, if you are trading, I think it's probably better just to stick to paper gold, trade in the futures, or trade in something along those lines, looking at perhaps gold miners, various things like that if you're into just purely trading from the gold price. If you are looking at just purely collecting, then you maybe don't care too much. You just want to put your money into something that will at least just have a value. Like maybe if you paid, £500 for this when a sovereign was 400, a bullion one, then you could say you're £100 worse off, but you've got that £400 at least. Whereas if you were collecting something else, there might not be any intrinsic value in there. You might have had a harder time, and ultimately you might have been better off losing a bit of money on gold than losing a lot of money on something else. So I say there are pros and cons to different aspects, and it depends how you're looking at it. But when I first started, that was the main thing I focused on, just getting the best value. And over the years, that has changed a little bit. I still do buy, obviously, best value coins. I still buy 1 ounce Britannias, even got some Krugans and things like that. But I think the focus, if you are looking for, ultimately the best financial return, stick to the best value, widely recognised coins. If they have a tax advantage in your area, obviously stick to those. And otherwise, looking for the deals when they come up, perhaps buying something a bit more fancy if there is something that comes up. But ultimately think about the goal you have for your stack and what you're eventually looking to do with it. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I'd love to know your thoughts. Are you more of a collector, more of a stacker? And if you've made any mistakes, or perhaps there's some mistakes you avoided, let us know in the comments. We'll talk soon.